The day started like any other for Karen, a mundane Tuesday promising nothing more than the usual errands. Her grocery list, meticulously crafted, lay nestled in her purse, a testament to her organized life. She enjoyed the ritual of grocery shopping, the methodical selection of fresh produce, the careful comparison of prices. It was a small island of control in a world that often felt chaotic. Today, however, a sense of unease gnawed at her. Her aging mother had been feeling unwell, and the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on Karen's shoulders. She needed to pick up her mother's favorite herbal tea, hoping it would bring some comfort. As she navigated the crowded aisles, a familiar tension began to creep in. The fluorescent lights seemed harsher than usual, the chatter of other shoppers grating on her nerves. Little did she know, this was just the prelude to a parking lot showdown that would test her patience and push her to her limit. Emerging from the store, laden with bags, Karen felt a surge of relief. The shopping was done, one less thing to worry about. The thought of a quiet evening at home with her mother spurred her on. But her brief moment of peace was shattered as she approached her car. A small, silver sedan was parked a little too close for comfort, almost kissing the white line marking her spot. Karen's breath caught in her throat. It wasn't just the inconvenience. It was the blatant disregard for common courtesy. A wave of frustration washed over her, fueled by the day's underlying stress and the unspoken anxieties about her mother's health. This small act of inconsideration felt like the last straw. She paused, trying to regain her composure. Maybe she could squeeze into her car, but as she assessed the situation, a familiar anger began to simmer within her. With a sigh, Karen tried to maneuver her cart around the offending vehicle, but the space was simply too tight. Seriously, she muttered under her breath, the word laced with a mixture of exasperation and annoyance. She scanned the parking lot, hoping to spot the owner of the silver sedan. A fleeting thought crossed her mind. Maybe she should just leave a note. But the injustice of it all fueled her resolve. It wasn't just about the parking spot. It was about respect, about consideration for others. As she stood there, her frustration morphed into a sense of righteous indignation. She imagined the owner of the car sauntering out of the store, oblivious to the inconvenience they had caused. The image solidified her determination to confront them, to make them understand the consequences of their actions. Just as Karen was about to give up, a figure emerged from the store. A young man, headphones around his neck, strolled towards the silver sedan, seemingly unaware of the parking predicament he had created. Karen took a deep breath and approached him. "Excuse me," she said, her voice barely concealing her irritation. "Is this your car?" The young man looked up, startled. "Yeah, it is," he replied, his tone casual. "Do you mind if I ask you to be a little more careful when you park?" Karen continued, her voice rising slightly. "I can barely get into my car." The young man frowned. "I'm sorry," he mumbled. "I didn't realize." But his apology seemed insincere, his eyes darting around, as if he were already planning his escape. Karen's patience snapped. "Didn't realize?" She repeated, her voice now laced with sarcasm. "How could you not realize? You're practically on top of the line." She gestured emphatically at the tight space between the cars, her pent-up frustration pouring out. The young man's expression hardened. "Look, lady," he retorted, "I said I was sorry. What more do you want?" His defensive tone only fueled Karen's anger. It wasn't just about the parking anymore. It was about the lack of accountability, the unwillingness to take responsibility for one's actions. "I want you to be more considerate," she exclaimed, her voice echoing across the parking lot. "Is that too much to ask?" A small crowd began to gather, drawn by the raised voices. Karen, oblivious to the onlookers, continued her tirade. She spoke about the importance of respecting others, of following the rules, of being mindful of the space we share. The young man, now visibly embarrassed, shifted uncomfortably. He mumbled another apology and quickly jumped into his car, backing out with a screech of tires. Karen watched him go, her chest heaving. The adrenaline slowly began to subside, replaced by a wave of exhaustion. She had won the argument, but at what cost? The satisfaction she had anticipated was nowhere to be found. Instead, she felt a hollow emptiness, a sense of regret for losing control. With a sigh, Karen finally managed to squeeze into her car. As she sat there, catching her breath, She couldn't help but replay the scene in her mind. Had she overreacted? Was her anger justified? The answer, she realized, was complex. The parking incident had been a catalyst, triggering a release of pent-up emotions that had been simmering beneath the surface for days. It wasn't just about the parking. It was about her mother's illness, the weight of responsibility, the constant pressure to maintain control. She closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. It was time to let go, to forgive herself for losing her temper, and to focus on what truly mattered. As Karen drove home, her thoughts turned to her mother. She pictured her frail figure, her gentle smile, her unwavering spirit. A wave of love washed over her, reminding her of the simple joys in life. She remembered the herbal tea she had bought, the one her mother loved so much. It was a small gesture, but it would bring her comfort. And in that moment, Karen realized that true strength wasn't about winning arguments or asserting dominance. It was about compassion, empathy, and the ability to forgive. She resolved to put the parking lot incident behind her and to focus on being present for her mother, to cherish the time they had together. Arriving home, Karen found her mother resting in her favorite armchair. Her face was pale, but her eyes lit up when she saw Karen. "How was your day, dear?" she asked, her voice weak but warm. "It was okay, Mom," Karen replied, forcing a smile. "I got you your favorite tea." She handed her the bag, and her mother's face brightened. As Karen brewed the tea, she listened to her mother talk about her day, her worries, her hopes. And in that moment, she realized that all the anger and frustration she had felt in the parking lot had melted away. The simple act of caring for her mother had restored her sense of purpose, reminding her of what truly mattered in life. As the sun set, casting a warm glow across the room, Karen sat beside her mother, sipping tea and sharing stories. The parking lot showdown seemed like a distant memory, a minor blip in the grand tapestry of life. She had learned a valuable lesson that day, that anger is a fleeting emotion, but love and compassion are enduring forces. And as she held her mother's hand, she knew that she would face whatever challenges lay ahead with grace, resilience, and a renewed appreciation for the simple joys of life. The day had started with frustration and anger, but it ended with peace and contentment, a reminder that even in the midst of chaos, there is always room for love and understanding.